In a world of unanswered questions and unsolved riddles, one clue can change everything. You're listening to The Last Clue, where mysteries don't just get solved, they get experienced. I'm Jessa, guiding you through the shadows of each case. What you hear might disturb you, what you miss might deceive you, and what you discover might surprise you. Ready your notebooks and sharpen your instincts. The most observant among you will earn immortality on our wall of fame. The mystery begins now. The Vanishing Guest, Episode 4, Messages from the Past. The mystery of Lena Carter deepens, and the past refuses to stay buried. A diary from 1947 recounts a story eerily similar to hers. Security footage reveals an invisible presence moving through the inn, and now Olivia Parker has uncovered something chilling, a message from beyond the veil. As Olivia turns to the final pages of Eleanor Gray's diary, her breath catches. The ink is faded, but the words are clear. I hear them whispering. They know I see them. Tonight is my last night. The date, June 18th, 1947. The same date Lena Carter checked into the Willow Crest Inn. Coincidence? Or something much darker? Olivia can't shake the feeling that Lena's fate is intertwined with Eleanor's. And then her phone rings. The phone's screen glowed an eerie blue in the darkness of Olivia's room. No caller ID, no number, just the gentle vibration against the wooden nightstand, insistent, impossible to ignore. For a moment, Olivia considered not answering. In horror movies, this was always the moment when the audience would scream at the protagonist to run, not to engage with the unknown. But this wasn't fiction. This was a real woman, missing, perhaps in danger. And this call might be the only link. She pressed the answer button, her hand trembling slightly. At first, nothing, just the soft hiss of static, like an old radio trying to find a signal. Then, distant, as if speaking from the bottom of a well, "Help me." The voice was female, young, frightened, but something about it wasn't quite right. A hollowness, an echo that shouldn't exist on a digital connection. Olivia called out to the voice, pressing the phone tighter to her ear. The static grew louder, the voice fading in and out like a weak transmission. "The mirror. Don't. At night." Then more clearly, "Find Eleanor." The line went dead. Olivia stared at the phone, her heart pounding. The call had lasted exactly 15 seconds, but when she checked the call log, there was no record, no incoming call, no duration, nothing to prove that she had heard a voice from beyond begging for help. Olivia's journalistic instincts took over. She grabbed her notebook, recording every detail while the experience remained fresh. The time, 1:37 a.m., exactly the same time shown on Lena's phone when she disappeared. The static quality of the voice, the mention of the mirror and Eleanor, the unnatural silence that had followed the call, as if all ambient sound in the room had been momentarily suspended. She knew what Sheriff Davies would say if she reported this. Stress, an overactive imagination fueled by ghost stories, and Eleanor's diary. But Olivia knew what she had heard, and more importantly, she knew what it meant. Lena Carter wasn't gone. She was trapped somewhere, and she was trying to reach out. Sheriff Tom Davies had built his career on facts, evidence, things he could see, touch, and measure. Yet with each passing day, the case of Lena Carter forced him to confront possibilities he had always dismissed. The security footage, The unexplained footsteps, the door that opened with no human touch. And now, the photograph. A woman from 2024 somehow appearing in an image from 1947. The rational explanations were dwindling. A look-alike ancestor? Possible, but improbable given the striking resemblance. Photo manipulation? The photograph had been tested. The paper, the chemical composition of the ink, all authentic to the 1940s era. A practical joke. Who would have gone to such lengths, and why? For the first time in his 23 years of law enforcement, Sheriff Davies began to consider the impossible. His deputies noticed the change in him, the way he hesitated before entering room 6, how he would stare at his own reflection in the mirror as if expecting it to move independently, the way he now listened with genuine attention when Margaret spoke of the inn's dark history. The sheriff ordered a complete background investigation into Lena Carter's life. Birth records, school transcripts, employment history, anything that would confirm her existence before she arrived at Willow Crest Inn. What he discovered only deepened the mystery. Lena Carter had appeared seemingly out of nowhere just 3 months ago. Her apartment in Boston had been leased under her name, but neighbors reported rarely seeing her. Her job as a historical researcher was conducted remotely, with no in-person meetings. Her social media accounts were sparse, created recently, with few connections. It was as if Lena Carter had been constructed rather than born, a life hastily assembled like a stage set, lacking the depth and complexity of genuine history. And her research focus? Unexplained disappearances at historic inns throughout New England. The morning after the mysterious call, Olivia sought out Margaret Hell. She needed answers, not just about Lena, but about Eleanor Gray, the woman whose diary warned of the mirror's dangers. She found Margaret in the basement archives, already surrounded by dusty records and old photographs, as if she had been expecting Olivia's questions. The back office of Willow Crest Inn was a cluttered space, lined with filing cabinets that hadn't been updated in decades. A single bulb cast yellowed light over stacks of papers, invoices, and logbooks that documented the inn's long history. Margaret's hands trembled as she pulled the old guest book from a shelf. Dust mites danced in the air, disturbed for the first time in years. I haven't looked at this since I took over the inn, Margaret admitted, laying the heavy book on the desk. My grandmother kept the records. She was superstitious about them, said some books shouldn't be opened too often. The guest book was bound in faded red leather, the pages brittle with age. Margaret turned to June 1947, her fingers hovering over the entries as if reluctant to touch them. And there it was, the signature that shouldn't exist. Lena Carter. The handwriting was unmistakable, the same elegant script Olivia had seen on Lena's check-in form just days earlier. Same name, same handwriting, separated by nearly 80 years. This can't be possible, Olivia whispered. But the evidence was before her, written in fading ink on yellowed paper. Margaret's face was pale and drawn as she pointed to the page from 1947. Look at the signature, she said quietly. Not just Lena's. And there, written in elegant cursive directly below Lena's name, was another name Olivia recognized instantly. Eleanor Gray. Margaret watched Olivia's face as the realization dawned. She had been keeping secrets, not just about the mirror, but about a pattern of disappearances stretching back generations. The Hell family had managed Willow Crest Inn since its construction in 1897, passing down not just the property, but the knowledge of what happened in room 6. The mirror had claimed many victims over the decades. Some vanished forever, but others seemed to reappear in different times, their identities shifting, their memories fragmented, their names side by side as if their stories have always been linked, as if one could not exist without the other. And then, as Olivia traces her fingers over the ink, she feels something pressed between the pages. A photograph. It's Lena, standing in front of the inn, her expression frozen in time. But the photo is old, faded, black and white, dated June 1947, and scrawled in shaky handwriting across the back are just three words: Find the mirror. Margaret Hell stared at the photograph, her face ashen. My grandmother told stories, she whispered, about guests who came and never left, about a mirror that sometimes showed other places, other times. I thought they were just stories to frighten children. Sheriff Davies was summoned immediately. His skepticism was fading with each new revelation, replaced by a growing certainty that something beyond his understanding was happening at Willow Crest Inn. The photograph was bagged as evidence to be analyzed by experts, but in his heart, the sheriff already knew the woman in the photograph was Lena Carter, somehow impossibly existing in two times at once. The question was no longer where Lena had gone, but when. Olivia Parker's research took on a new urgency. She compiled a timeline of the disappearances, looking for patterns, for connections. The interval between vanishings was irregular. Sometimes decades passed, sometimes only a few years. But one detail remained constant. Each disappearance occurred on the night of June 18th, the same date Eleanor Gray disappeared in 1947. The same date Lena Carter checked into Willow Crest Inn. The realization struck Olivia like a physical blow. Whatever had happened to Lena, whatever force had pulled her through time, it might happen again. And if the pattern held, someone else might vanish. Someone who had been researching the previous disappearances. Someone like Olivia herself. As the day progressed toward evening, Sheriff Davies expanded the investigation beyond Lena Carter and Eleanor Gray. Who had built Willow Crest Inn? Why this location? Why did the mirror have such power? The county records revealed that the inn had been constructed in 1897 by Edmund Willow, an eccentric inventor and amateur physicist with an interest in what he called temporal anomalies. His journal, preserved in the local historical society, contained increasingly disturbed entries about weaknesses in the fabric of reality and doorways between then and now. Most disturbing of all were his notes about the mirror in room 6. Not an ordinary mirror, but one he had constructed using a silver backing infused with materials he believed could thin the veil between times. Edmund Willow himself had disappeared in 1903, leaving only a cryptic note: I must see the other side. He was never found, but guests at the inn at that time reported strange noises from room 6, and a maid claimed to have seen a face in the mirror that wasn't her own. The pattern was older than they had realized, and it was accelerating. The gaps between disappearances were growing shorter. What had once been decades apart now happened every few years, as if the mirror's hunger was increasing, as if whatever lay on the other side was reaching out more desperately. Time is unraveling, the past and present are colliding, and the only way to find Lena Carter may be to step beyond the veil itself. As night approached, Sheriff Davies, Margaret Hell, and Olivia Parker gathered in room 6. The mirror hung innocently on the wall, reflecting their troubled faces. To any casual observer, it would appear ordinary, slightly tarnished with age, its ornate frame darkened by decades of polish. But they knew better. Sheriff Davies proposed destroying the mirror immediately, smashing it, removing it from the inn, breaking whatever connection it had formed with the past. But Margaret warned against such action. Her grandmother had tried to remove the mirror once. The next day, it had reappeared, and her grandmother had been bedridden for weeks, plagued by nightmares of faces pressing against glass, screaming silently for release. Olivia had another idea. Eleanor's diary mentioned a specific time, 1:37 a.m., when the mirror's power seemed strongest. The security footage showed invisible footsteps at that exact time. Lena's last text was sent then. What if they used that moment not to destroy the mirror, but to communicate through it? What if they could reach Lena? It was a dangerous plan. If the mirror could pull Lena from the present to the past, it might do the same to anyone who stood before it at that critical moment. But Olivia was willing to take that risk. Lena's phone call, the desperate plea for help, convinced her that the woman was trapped, conscious, and trying to find a way back. As midnight approached, they prepared Room 6 for what might be their only chance to solve the mystery and save Lena Carter. Are you paying attention, detectives? Because the next clue is waiting. But be careful. You might not like what you find. And there you have it, another piece of the puzzle revealed in this episode of The Last Clue. Think you've solved the case? Submit your theory through our Google form, linked in the Featured tab and in the comments on the Facebook page, The Last Clue, a mystery podcast. Also linked in the descriptions on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube channel, The Last Clue Podcast. The first correct solution earns a coveted spot on our Wall of Fame. If you're enjoying our mysteries, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast and leave a rating or review. It helps other amateur detectives find us. Join us next time as we continue to unravel the threads of this mystery. Until then, keep your eyes open and your mind sharp, because in this world, everything is a clue. This is Jessa, signing off.